Hi Mark, thank you very much for seeing us today. I've got a few questions for you, and it would be great if you could, first of all, I suppose, just briefly introduce yourself, but also the G20 and where you fit into it and what inspires you to take the role that you play.
Well, look, my name's Malloch-Brown, and I'm one of Gordon Brown's ministers. I have sat in his cabinet since he became Prime Minister in 2007, and he recruited me out of a kind of long international career where I ended up as Kofi Annan's Deputy Secretary General at the United Nations. And so Gordon brought me back because he hoped that I could help him with, if you like, building the kind of networks of international partners, initially around global development and the fight against poverty and around a more progressive foreign policy, but latterly very much around how we've tried to handle this global economic crisis that is racing through all our lives. And at the heart of this lies this group called the G20, which is a group of 20 countries which represents 85% approximately of the world's income, and who therefore are a kind of natural grouping, if you like, to try and arrive at a crisis response, what we can all collectively do for recovery. Because, if there's one feature of this crisis, it is that countries have come to recognize they can't go it alone and solve it for themselves, that their banking sectors are global, the banks lending to them may have headquarters somewhere else in the world, and their own banks may have lending portfolios much bigger outside their own country than at home. But beyond that, what's hurting our economies now, even more than banks, is that trade's collapsing. I've been to a lot of countries in recent weeks that have seen as much as a 30% contraction in their exports. So, this is a very difficult time where we need global solutions, and hence the reliance on this G20.
And you say you've been to many countries meeting presumably different ministers of those governments. Could you tell us who has been, or the group of people who have been the most inspirational and encouraging to you throughout your travels over the last time?
Well, I think, this crisis in a sense gets felt at two different levels most acutely. One, at a very senior political level by prime ministers and their key allies in countries who, perhaps have the freedom of leadership to be able to see that something profound and fundamentally altering is happening in the lives of their countries. And the other level where it's felt most is when you get a chance to talk to ordinary folk who are seeing it show up in their household incomes, their job security, the standard of living in their communities. So, and in between are a lot of officials and others who, are desperately trying to hang on to life as it was and trying to persuade themselves this is just some temporary aberration or seizure of the banking system, and that if we just hold on hard enough and stay frozen to the spot, life will revert to how it was before in a few months' time. But as I say, above that group and below them, there is a really much clearer recognition that our world is changing fundamentally.